Hi there. Good morning, folks. My name is Alistair McDermott. I'm going to be your host for today. The first part of this is about the trading voucher scheme itself and what you can use it for, and some tips to help ensure that your application is successful. So my background in giving this training is I've been running my business since 2007. It's called Website Doctor. And I'm a mentor with Galway, Mayo, and Roscommon LEOs, the local enterprise office. And I'll probably say Leo a lot during this rather than local enterprise office. It's just ingrained at this point. So I've been evaluating the vouchers, the trading vouchers, since it started, and I've given them some feedback to try and improve the questions and things, because if you've got the application form already, you might have noticed that some of the questions are a bit clunky in the way that they are worded. So, and I'll talk you through some of those issues in a bit. So the trading voucher itself, it's up to 2,500 euros of funding. It used to be matched at 50%, and right now it's matching at 90%, which is amazing. It's very wide in scope, and the best thing about this scheme is how wide in scope it is. So it can be used for multiple services simultaneously. And just to give you an example of what that means, it means you can get, for example, you can get website improvements done. You can hire a photographer or a videographer. You can spend money on Google ads or Facebook ads. And you can also have a training course, fun training for you and your staff. And I'll talk through all of the different things that you can actually use it for. But there's a lot of different things that it can be used for. So the big change that came this year because of COVID. So first of all, if you had previously got it, you could only get it one time in the lifetime of the business. And actually they've changed that now. So if you had got it previously, you can get it again a second time. They also match at 90% up to the cap. And it used to be that it was 50-50 matching. So if you spent €1,000, they would match that €1,000. Whereas now, if you spend €1,000, well, actually, if you spend €100, they will match that at 90%. So they'll match it with 900. So what that means is that in effect, there is a sweet spot at around 2,800 euros where you will get the full voucher amount of 2,500. It's matching 90% of the project cost, which is amazing. The other change that they made this year is that it covers recurring subscriptions for some low-cost e-commerce services, and it didn't do that before. One of the things about this whole scheme is not all of the details are spelled out in the application form. And so a lot of it is down to the interpretation of the local enterprise office who administer the scheme. So things like for example, the recurring subscriptions for low-cost e-commerce, we don't have a hard and fast rule about how long that should cover. So should that cover 3 months of subscription or a year of subscription? We don't really know. It's not written down anywhere. So a lot of this stuff is down to the interpretation of the local enterprise office, and the same for everything in the form. Ultimately, they're the ones who decide. So it's matching at 90% up to the cap for almost all of the spend. So for example, on the website, on training, on things like that. There's two exceptions to that, which is online advertising and photography. So online advertising is, for example, Facebook ads or Google ads or things like that. And then photography. So the wording that they use is that online advertising can be a maximum of 30% of the total voucher, and photography can be a maximum of 80% of the total voucher. So basically, it just means that those are being that you can't just use the whole voucher for ad spend. It's still good, but just to bear that in mind that there is a limitation there. So who's eligible for it? And effectively, it's anybody with a regular small business. They say you have to have a limited online trading presence, so you can't be Amazon.com already. But anybody who's a regular for-profit business, you have to have a turnover of less than 2 million and less than 11 employees. If you are over those limits, then there is a similar scheme being administered by Enterprise Ireland, but you were probably not a local enterprise office client. You probably should be talking to Enterprise Ireland. The other thing is you have to be trading for at least 6 months. So what I'd recommend for that is that you actually start the clock ticking if you're under that 6-month limit. You've also got to be in the region that you're applying to. So everybody here, I think, is in Roscommon. So most small businesses are eligible. those who are not eligible is effectively not a small business. So club, charity, and not-for-profit, associations and things like that. If your business is totally based around a single conference or seminar, they, like, for example, the web summit, things like that, those would not be eligible because it's what they're trying to do here is fund jobs and exports. Some others who are not eligible are, for example, web design companies. Unfortunately, web design companies, because they can build their own website, they don't qualify. So who else is not eligible? They don't want to duplicate some EU funding, so they ask you on the form to just list any funding that you get, and then if you're outside those limits, you might be too big, or you might have been not around for long enough yet. So just in terms of the 6 months, there might be some discretion. So if you're 3, 4, or 5 months, then talk to the local enterprise office, because effectively you might be at the 6 month mark by the time the project is finished. So they might be willing to kind of use a bit of discretion there. So what the vouchers can be used for, and this is the official list that's actually on the form. It can be used for digital marketing strategy. And so this is planning or execution. So this is really wide in scope from my perspective. This can mean almost anything to do with digital marketing. So they say digital marketing strategy, development or upgrade of an e-commerce website. So any kind of upgrade or development of a new e-commerce website, that's all perfectly within the bounds of the scheme. Again, online payments or booking. So sometimes some businesses will have online booking, so maybe restaurants or hotels or B&Bs, as opposed to selling product directly. So all of that kind of direct transaction is covered. They also cover customer fulfillment systems. And the example they give is a print-on-demand website. So maybe this is relevant for you, maybe it's not. But if you're not sure, talk to the local enterprise office again. Internet-related software. So most websites these days are actually a collection of software. That's what they're made up of. It's software from different places. And internet-related software is it might be some sort of software that allows your website to do some kind of new functionality. The example I'd give is that you're like on your phone, when you add an app to your phone, it allows your phone to do something different or something additional. And it's the same for a lot of websites. You can add these things called plugins or extensions or modules, and those can be added to allow your website different functionality. And so the cost of those would be covered by this scheme. It can also be used for development of an app or a mobile responsive website. So two things to say on this. Firstly, mobile responsive website, what that means is that your website should be mobile friendly. And every single website built by anybody on this call has to be mobile friendly. It's just, it's a hard requirement for 2020. About probably 60 or 70% of your website visitors will be on mobile. So it's really important that it is mobile friendly. It's just an absolute requirement. The other thing is that development of an app, to get a good app developed, is probably somewhere between 15 and 25,000 euros. So while the trading voucher scheme would be useful, to get a good app developed, it's probably going to cost you a lot more than the 2,500 or 3,000 euros that you're talking about there. There is another scheme called the innovation vouchers, which can also be used for app development. And I would suggest you check that out. If you're really serious about getting an app developed, check out innovationvouchers.ie. It's up to 5,000 euros of funding. And basically you can use that with one of the IT colleges and have somebody like a postgrad in computing or something like that will build you a working prototype. So that is it's kind of the innovation vouchers are for R&D. That's what they're intended for. So so I'd check out innovationvouchers.ie if you're interested in getting an app developed. The trading voucher can be used towards it, absolutely, but I think just given the cost of getting an app developed, it's probably not the most appropriate. Okay, so the trading voucher can also be used for training. And it can be used for training for you and for your staff. Anything related to your website management, social media, pretty much anything that's directly related to online trading is covered. It can be used for online advertising. And I say 30% matched. It's not actually 30% matched. it's that online advertising can be 30% of the total at a maximum. And then what it can't be used for. So it can't be used for development of brochure sites. So I just want to talk about brochure sites for a minute. So there's a class of website called lead generation website, which is fine. So this is the quote that they have on the actual application form. A brochure site is a digital version of a printed brochure that shows products or services. Unlike an e-commerce site, it doesn't sell the product or service online or have an interactive booking function. With a brochure site, goods and services are only displayed, so customers have to contact the company to place an order. So the issue with this is there's a lot of businesses, in particular service businesses, where you don't actually purchase online. So if your business is, let's say, an accountant or a dentist or a commercial office cleaner, all of those types of businesses, you don't go on their website and put in your credit card number to buy a product. So what they're looking for here is these keywords are interactive booking function. They don't want the website to be passive. They want the website to be like an active business generating tool, which is what I think we all want as business owners as well. So the key part here is the interactive booking. They're looking for some sort of booking functionality. So if this applies to you, if you think that your website if your business is a service business and you're concerned about the brochure website part, have a chat with the local enterprise office, and in particular about the interactive booking. The other thing I'll say is most web designers who have been building websites this year or in the last 4 or 5 years while the trading voucher's been around, they will be familiar with this. So have a chat with the web designers as well about that. But basically, you just need to show them that there's some sort of interactivity, that it's not just like a passive brochure site. So next thing is it doesn't cover purchase of non-internet related software. So an example of this would be it doesn't cover, for example, Microsoft Office or Adobe Photoshop. So anything that's not directly related to the internet, to the website. It doesn't cover anything that isn't online trading related. So some notable rules: you have to attend the seminar, so you're very welcome. Unfortunately, it excludes VAT. Now, back at the very start of the scheme, it did cover VAT for the first 6 months or so. So you might see some really old documentation somewhere saying that it covers VAT. Unfortunately, it does not. And you have to provide some documentation proving your eligibility. I'll talk through what that might look like. Your application should include 3 quotes for each service where possible. So just to talk about this for a minute, if you're getting your website rebuilt and you're doing a training course and you're also getting photography done, then they really want to see 3 quotes for the website work. It would be nice to have 3 quotes for the training course and nice to have 3 quotes for the photography as well. But the website part is the one they really want to have the 3 quotes for. Now, on the flip side, it can be really difficult to get 3 quotes for web design at the moment, particularly if the people who you're talking to, so every web designer is very busy right now because every business in Ireland needs a website. And just to put numbers on that, there's probably 10 times more websites being built this year than in a normal year, maybe even 15 times more. So like it's very busy out there. A lot of web designers are not answering the phone, or they're not replying to requests, particularly if they suspect that they're not your preferred choice. So if they get the feeling when they're talking to you that you've already picked your main web designer, they mightn't want to bother giving you a quote, and that can be difficult, particularly when you've been asked to get 3 quotes. So what I'd suggest that you do, first of all, is that you cast the net wide. And I'm going to talk to you about how to actually find a web designer. I've got a presentation. I'm going to go through that after this one. But I would suggest that you kind of cast a wide net to see who you can find and talk to a few different people. The other thing is, if you can't get 3 quotes, you can actually submit your email asking for a quote to the Leo. And that will suffice as that should suffice as proving that you've been trying to get those quotes and just haven't been able to. So just bear that in mind. It can be hard to get those. Okay, so some stuff to help the Leo process your application. List the quotes in order of preference. So put your top preference first. The prices should be ex VAT. And by the way, you don't have to choose the cheapest. You choose who you want to work with, and I'll talk a bit more about who's eligible as a supplier. But so list them in the order preference and include the ex-VAT prices. So just on the VAT thing, I just want to mention this. If you are not registered for VAT, then obviously you can't claim the VAT back. So if you're not registered for VAT, there's actually an advantage in you also hiring a web design company who is not registered for VAT. So it might be worthwhile looking around to see who is and who is not registered for VAT, because that can be a significant amount. So yeah, so just bear that in mind when you're checking around. If you are registered for VAT, then it doesn't it's not relevant because you can offset. But if you're not registered for VAT, it can actually be quite good to look for somebody who's not VAT registered as well. Okay, so so you have to provide some documentation proving your supplier eligibility. So I'll talk you through that for a bit. So your supplier needs to be a registered business. So for example, your web design company, they need to be a genuine web design company. Now, that doesn't mean they have to be in Ireland. They could be anywhere, so long as they're a registered business. They have to be tax compliant. And so typically in Ireland, it's a tax clearance access code that you get. So they have to be tax compliant, and you can get the equivalent of that in most countries. The project needs to take less than 4 months, and it was 9 months previously. It was actually 4 months. They changed it to 9 months, and they've changed it back to 4 months again. So just bear that in mind. It's got to take less than 4 months. The most important thing in this whole presentation: do not spend the money until you get the formal notification that you've been approved. So the issue is that if you spend the money before you get the official notification, depending on the date of the notification, they will not cover any spend that happened before the notification. So they won't cover it if you spend the money before the official approval. So just bear that in mind. So what they require at the drawdown, so the drawdown is the phase where they're giving you the money back at the end. They're looking for the original invoices for the work. So they're looking for the invoice from the supplier. They're looking for your bank statement showing proof of payment to the supplier. So they want to see your bank statement with the supplier's name on there, and with the amount showing the same amount that was on the invoice. Now, you do not have to show them your other transactions, and you do not have to show them your bank balance. All they want to see is the proof of payment to the supplier. So you can cover up the rest of that, put a Post-it over it when you're taking a photo, whatever you need to do. But they just need to see the proof of payment to the supplier. They want to see tax clearance verification for your business. So you can get this from the revenue online service, or you can ask your accountant. And basically, it's a tax clearance access code. They're looking for your CRO registration or some other proof that you've been trading for over 6 months. So if you registered a CRO number or a registered business number at the very start of your business, that would be an ideal one to show them. Otherwise, some other way to prove that you've been trading for over 6 months. Quite often people will just ask their accountant to write a letter just to say. So they're also looking, and this is just for their records, they want a summary of what was done and how you think it's going to help. They're looking for a declaration of the project completion by the supplier. So effectively, this is an email from your web designer saying, yeah, the project is now complete. The website is now live at such and such an address. They're looking for the supplier's details. They're looking for their business name, their address, their tax clearance information. So what else should be included? Your business details, all the really obvious stuff. And just a word on this, double check that you have the contact information on the application form correct. Because I've seen this where when you send it in, the person who is actually processing is not necessarily the person you send it to. So they forward on your application form to somebody else. And that other person doesn't necessarily have any of your contact information, like your email or anything, except the application form. So if it's not correct on the application form, then there's going to be delays. So just double check the phone number and the email are correct on the application. There's a whole bunch of prompter questions in this form. And so what I mean by that is the questions on the form are designed to prompt your thinking. And here is one of them. So they're asking how it's going to help your business. How is it going to help you handle sales automatically, or generate new leads, or deliver better customer service. Maybe you have some videos showing how to use your product, or some sort of maybe you have online chat to answer questions, things like that. So the reason that they ask this question, one of the reasons they ask this question, is to make sure that you've thought through these issues. How is this actually going to help your business? They want to know who your competitors are online. And the reason for that is because they want you to go and look at your competitors. So what I'd recommend that you do is don't just look at your competitors locally. Also go and look at your competitors. Say pick 3 competitors in the UK, 3 competitors in the US as well. Go check out their websites just to see what inspiration you can get from them. What do they have on their homepage? What are they? What's the main thing that they ask people to do on the website? Do they have free downloads? Do they use video? Things like that, just to get a kind of a feeling for how other people are working in your industry. Another one, what is your target market? So the reason they're asking this is because they want to know that you know who your target market is. And again, it's just kind of basic stuff. They just want to know that you've thought through these issues. They want to know how it's going to grow your revenue or increase efficiencies. So how is it going to make you money or save you money? And again, this is just to get you to think through, how could this help us? Is there anything it could do to save us money, maybe in terms of reduced printing costs, or how is it going to make us money by increasing sales, or selling better profit margin products, things like that. So there are some questions in here that I'm not so hot about. I wish that they gave more examples. This is another prompter question asking if you can dedicate some resources to the project and what that might be. And I think that these particular questions are kind of not so relevant for everybody. Maybe if you've got staff, you can put a full-time staff member on it, and that would be something that you can dedicate to the project. If you're not sure on any of these questions, my suggestion to you is don't leave it blank. Write in NA for not applicable, and that would be a better way to answer it, rather than just leaving it blank, just so they know that you've seen the question, you've answered it. So that's personally what I would probably do here, unless I had something clearly that was clear and obviously able to kind of something that can help the project. So this is another one of these prompter questions. Do you have anything in terms of a digital asset that could help the project? So did you get a photo shoot done last year, or a couple of years ago? Did you do some videos, or were you on the news? Do you have any animations or presentations? Maybe you give presentations that could be turned into the basis for a YouTube video or something. Or is there some software or some written content? So, do you have a whole bunch of Word documents somewhere with some great information on there that could be actually turned into web pages? So this is just a prompter question to get you to think through, is there anything there that you have that might be useful? So some tips for filling in the application. So first off, Jeremy will be in contact from Roscommon will be in contact with the actual application form. I think you don't need to, but if you don't hear back from him, certainly contact him to ask him for the application form. And as far as I know, there are 2 versions of the application form. There's a Word version, and there's a PDF, an editable PDF. Personally, I prefer the Word version because it's kind of easier to edit. It's a bit more lightweight. The PDF looks fantastic, but it can be a bit clunky. So you could ask them if you're having any trouble with that, ask for the Word version. Make it easy for them to fund you. So include everything that they ask for. So the something that I didn't realize when I started working with the local enterprise office was that every single year they get audited. So what that means is that auditors come into their office every year and ask them to justify all of the money that they've given out. So at some point, a LEO staff member in Roscommon LEO is going to be holding your application form and explaining to an auditor why they gave you the money. And in order to do that, they have to have paperwork backing that up. And so if they ask you for something, they really genuinely need it, and your application can't move forward without that. So just bear that in mind. If they ask you for some paperwork or something, they really do need it. So everything that they ask for, please do give it to them. And leave nothing completely empty on the application form. If you're not sure, contact the local enterprise office, or if you think it's not that important, you can write in an NA for not applicable. Don't submit it incomplete. they will send it back to you, and it'll just kind of cause a back and forth kind of delay. So don't submit it incomplete. So list 3 quotes in order of preference. Make sure that you list the prices ex-VAT. The actual application form is a contract. So it's important that you've signed and dated it and that you've agreed to the terms and conditions. So just bear that in mind as well. It's just one of these things you need to do. And then contact the Leo. I think your contact is Jeremy Cullen, for anything that you're not sure about. So that's it for this part of the presentation.